Welcome back into another episode of Rock Boys Football. We're doing our pick show a little bit earlier, getting in on Sunday night. The games are fresh in our head. We get the lines early before they get a really chance to move, so we really get to capitalize on picks we like. That being said, we probably will do another Thursday night show to kind of add picks if we need be. Overall, let's recap our last week picks. Obviously, the Tennessee money line on the road against Kentucky hit for us in what was a very fun and offensive game. NC State covered the 2.5 as a I guess road favorite going into Florida State. Mackenzie Milton just ain't it. That's kind of why I love the pick. Mackenzie Milton just doesn't have the arm strength. That lack of athleticism really hurt them too. Other than that, what jumped out at you from last week, though?
Wake Forest. I just think when you jump into that trap, when you give a Wake Forest money line, you are playing the dangerous game. We talked about it last week, but when you're gonna give up a score 50-50 kind of situation, like you're walking a tightrope, and that very much played out as we kind of talked about, and unfortunately lost for us.
That one really stung. Wake Forest was easily the better team for 3 quarters. Offense was rolling. Christian Beal-Smith goes out with an injury, and we just kind of gave up on the run a little bit. Couldn't score. I don't think we scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And then just couldn't tackle. We couldn't tackle all game. Sam Howell was trucking us over, making us nets. Some uncharacteristic penalties and turnovers, and that kind of did us in. We're not good enough to kind of overcome that. We got to play.
One other notable. Michigan State was an easy one. Like, you look at that +3 line and the fact that you couldn't tell if something was up. Just a shocking lack of experience and understanding of the game. It's just all I can really say. It's like, yeah, you look at that, oh, dude, it's not like -10. It's like, well, there's a reason. And you walk right in. Vegas, they each you're like, oh, this guy doesn't know a thing about this game.
Walked right.
Yeah, you fell to your death.
Good thing
no surprise there.
Last week.
So the last one I was gonna say is the one that really made me want to throw up was Virginia Tech on the Friday night game. It was just like
we gave that pick out not knowing Phil Yurkovich was playing. Oh, well, he wasn't even good. The reason we lost.
He was the problem for them.
Yeah.
He looked very hurt. Like, no, he just looked injured.
I think that he's way more athletic than
that's true. But God, I mean, the Bowmeister, that hurt bad, obviously. But just, I don't know. Justin Fuentes, I hope he gets fired. I think Virginia Tech deserves better than him, and he is an enemy of mine. So I will be hoping for his demise by the end of this season. And I don't. I'm not a fan of him. I think he's not doing a good job at that program, and yeah, all I could think is watching that disaster of a game. They couldn't move the ball an inch, and they were making stupid play after stupid play. I was like, God, Fuentes.
How about the freaking just the bounces early? Get a pick, fumble it.
It's all time bad.
And then the second drive, it's about to be a pick. And then it gets tipped, and then the offensive guy catches it, and then they score another touchdown.
It's madness.
And and then, I mean, hey, that's our fault for betting Vatek on the road against BC on Red Bandana Night. Can't do that. Stupid of us.
Yeah, it was Red Bandana Night too, though, so it was kind of like.
We were playing more than just 11.
I guess you're playing with fire on Red Bandana Night, no matter what, but still.
You can't do it. Stupid of us.
I still think Virginia Tech's a way better team. That's my final takeaway. They're coached by Fuentes, and he is a problem. So
they were banged up too. They lost their top 2 wide receivers, obviously,
and the quarterback. Obviously, it was brutal. But nonetheless, that's kind of my week.
Yeah, we had some good wins though for NC State and Tennessee. Kind of more locks hit. So take that.
you took some of my dogs, you would have been in okay shape. Shout out Memphis.
Yeah, that's true. Really got hot.
But then also my anti-Northwestern pick bit me. So I don't think I was seeing it great. I was like, okay.
All right, we're getting into the Rock Boys picks, and we officially have a spreadsheet for you guys. I'm gonna full screen this. We're gonna start tracking our picks. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna have picks that I like. If Dill doesn't like them, they're gonna go here. Dill's gonna have picks. If I don't agree with them, they're gonna go here. And then the Rock Boy locks, those are our lock agreements. Are 2 picks that we both like, both have on our card. We'll take here. And then the battleground picks. These are the picks that we infamously disagree on. We're gonna start tracking how well we do. Not only is this for a little bit of pride and to kind of track how we do, we get to learn from what teams we're making money on, what teams we're not making money on, how good we're betting road dogs at. And that's kind of been something we do a lot, and we kind of just want to see how effective it is versus betting the home favorite. And so we're going to get right into it. Dill, I'll give you the first slate since you definitely had the upper edge from last week. What's your favorite week 11 pick?
So I'm going to start off with my 2 Moneyline dogs that I very much like. And I'm going to start out with Minnesota to beat Iowa, plus 195. This screams, if Minnesota plays well, they'll kill Iowa, I think. And I think PJ Fleck, in fairness to him, he dropped some duds. He dropped a big dud last week. But he's done a very good job this year of rallying the troops and not letting these bad losses spiral. And I think, in fairness, he's done a pretty good job picking them up and going on to win some good games. Like, obviously, the Nebraska win stands out to me just because that's a game I thought they had no shot. I know we bet Nebraska, and Tanner Morgan decided to play really good ball. So I think Minnesota is a good pick. I think that line should be much closer to a pick 'em, and I think you get good value at plus 195 for them to win outright. And then my next pick, I know it was Syracuse. I got to look at it was Louisville. So I like Syracuse over Louisville. I think Syracuse is a sneaky, very good team this year. I love Garrett Schrader.
Do you know what the money line is?
Plus 140. Syracuse is the money line. So I'm not wildly impressed with Louisville. They give up a lot of points. I think Syracuse, they'll give up some points, but in fairness, they've also had some really pretty good defensive showings. I think holding BC to 6, Clemson to 17, and honestly, holding Wake to 40 is not bad. So
lowest scoring game of the season.
I think you got like decent defense out of Syracuse. I know that Louisville's a bad defensive team, and Louisville's really one-dimensional. They really don't pass the ball particularly well. I mean, they can run it, and Lee Cunningham's very athletic, but I think you're getting pretty good value. I still think Syracuse gets a little bit disrespected.
They have been disrespected because of how bad they were last year and how bad the outlook was going into the season. They were projected to finish bottom of the ACC, and I projected them to do the same. I was caught very much off guard how good Syracuse has been. And a lot of it has to do with Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker running that run game. Sean Tucker is one of the best backs in the country. Well, Garrett Schrader can be very athletic, and it's hard to bring down with his big frame and his ability to move. And then
I'm kind of thinking of what beat up Louisville really badly was Matt Corral being an athlete and being able to expose them a little bit. So I just think that I think you're getting pretty good value here. I'm really not a Louisville fan. I think they've been largely unimpressive.
Last week.
Who they almost beat?
Clemson last week. They had that play at the goal line.
Syracuse almost beat them too. Everybody almost beats Clemson.
Yeah.
There, as Dabo put it, what did he say? Like an inch away from being undefeated. Like they're also an inch away from being winless. So
something, yeah, it's bad.
I don't care what people do against Clemson.
Yeah, I don't mind the Cuse pick. I'm not the biggest Louisville fan. I worry about Louisville's speed on offense, but if Syracuse can kind of control the clock, control the time possession with that ground and pound run game, you'll definitely be hanging in there to hit that plus 140 money line. Minnesota in a very similar way. I just don't like betting on Minnesota because you don't know what team you're going to get. I mean, they'll just lay
rally guy though. He's cultured. He's a cultured guy. He gets the guys off the mat. No, he does. It's about all he does, but he's not a good coach. He's not a good coach from a position of power. Like, that's very clear. He thrives on being the little guy. So
yeah, it'll be that. I think the over under is like 37. Like, that's a super low over under. It's gonna be a lot of running. And you're right. I mean, I love fading Iowa. I don't think Iowa's very good. They can't throw the ball. So I don't mind that pick either. I'm not gonna battleground you on either one, but I'm not gonna add them to my card. I'm gonna add my first one to my card, and I'm going with the Michigan money line on the road against Penn State.
Slap that on the agreement picks.
Yeah,
I'm riding Michigan.
Yeah, and it's not even a homer pick. Like, okay, maybe it is. It's actually a pick 'em right now, so I'm just gonna. I think you can get him at +1.
I see -105 on the money line. Just on DraftKings right now. That's what I had it.
Yeah. Okay. Michigan looks good. They should have beaten Michigan State, and if they do make some plays to beat Michigan State, this line's a lot different. Penn State just has completely lost its identity. They can't run the football. I don't feel comfortable dropping back Sean Clifford with Hutchinson and Ajabo coming after him, the best two pass rushers in the Big Ten. If Michigan can figure out a way to stop Jahan Dotson, who is like 75% of this Nittany Lion offense, they'll be fine. It won't be that hard to place to play. It's a noon game. It'll be sleepy in Happy Valley after just a really, really disappointing season for them. I would have taken Michigan up until 3.
One note I'd like to add is I think for what Michigan hasn't been able to do to stop the run at certain points, they've done a very good job controlling the deep passing game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I can't think of any teams really just beating us over the head with long passes. So I like that's kind of what Penn State's been able to do is find Dotson. Dotson's been able to get loose a few times a game, and he's been really all they've had in terms of consistently moving the ball because they don't have a consistent offensive identity. So I think we play okay. They're not going to be able to expose us in the run game like Michigan State did. And you don't want to be dropping back throwing against Michigan because David Ojabo has come along for real to pair up with Hutchinson, and now we're really getting after quarterback. So yeah, that's more reasoning for why I really am a fan of that pick.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you my next pick that I like. I don't think you'll like it, but I'm taking the Sooners -6 on the road against Baylor.
Yeah, you can leave that off the agreement.
Huh?
Said, yeah, I don't agree with that.
Are we battlegrounding it, or are we just no?
Not battlegrounding, but
yeah. OU has seemingly found their rhythm with Caleb Williams. It drastically helps the run game with Kennedy Brooks as well. But I also really, really am optimistic about this defense coming together. They were basically playing with a 3 deep at the secondary. From what I'm reading, they're going to get 3 guys back in the secondary to shore up that back end. They're still super, super talented up front. Baylor likes to run the ball, but the front 7 of OU is pretty darn good. I know they haven't played it, but they're talented. Thomas, Perrion Winfrey, Nick Benito. They got some real talented guys up there. And so if we can stop that Baylor ground attack, and we'll hang it on Baylor, no doubt in my mind. Coming off the bye, guys should be healthy. I love picking guys off the bye weeks, especially a late season bye. So Baylor's banged up, coming in tired, kind of hurting. OU should be fresh, ready to rock and roll. I saw a bunch of their guys on Twitter thinking about or tweeting about their disrespect they got at the college football playoffs. I think they know they need to cover. I think they need to forward on. I didn't like what I saw with Baylor. Baylor could not stop the nosebleed against a TCU team.
Yeah, that was but that also, like, I don't know. You're getting some brutal bounces for Baylor.
You're getting some weird bounces. You're right.
Like, they had like a lot of 3rd and 12s, and they're giving up, which is, like, in fairness, that's really bad. Like, you can't consistently give up long 3rd downs because that's when you got to be getting off the field. And you're right, Baylor couldn't do that. And granted, they should have won that game, but doesn't matter. My issue is Oklahoma's not blowing anybody out. I can't think of when they play decent teams. They're not washing people.
No,
so
I think that's why you see a line that's within a touchdown.
Yeah, that's my hesitation, and I think
about where Oklahoma's going. I guess
I like what Bohannon can do. I think he's pretty good. I think the running game is pretty good, and their offensive line's solid. So yeah, I think they're going to give some points up just based on what they were doing against TCU. They did have some problems with the athleticism of the quarterback, which is not where you want to be playing a Caleb Williams led offense. So I don't mind the pick. I wouldn't give out Baylor +6 or whatever it was. But nonetheless, I don't think I'm going to give you the agreement.
All right, where are you going next? I just did 2.
And I know you're going to dislike this one, but I have to do it, is USC minus. They're going to cover 1.5. And I know they looked brutal last week, but I actually think there's I think they played really pretty good defense, which is probably the biggest takeaway I had. Like, their defense kept them in that game. Really weak on offense, but
I know something crazy.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Damn, that's why. But again, I think you're matching up with a Cal team that's getting a little bit of respect for hanging with Oregon.
Well, he just also lost to Arizona.
Yeah, so it's like you care. But again, I think Cal's kind of riding that wave, and I will say they could not block Kayvon Thibodeau. Maybe Drake Jackson can kind of get it going. I don't think he's shown out much, but if he can take over and have a game, that would be helpful. But the defense as a whole is pretty good. I like their linebacking play. I think they're athletic and move well. They dealt with Jaden Daniels, so I think the problem is there's no explosion on offense. But I do think you have a big talent gap, and when you're a better team and can play defense, I think you're in a decent spot to cover that.
Do we know if Garbers is going to be back? I think that would be big. I'm gonna give a little Twitter search real quick to him. He only scoring 3 points on Arizona is not good. And so if they don't have,
it's horrible.
There is even if they do have like that, you shouldn't be that beat up about it. So
yeah, and I think Chase Garbers is good, but I don't know if I still I haven't been particularly impressed with Cal. I thought Chase. He played a gutsy game against Oregon, but I wouldn't say it was consistent. That was good quarterback play. He was just making kind of wild plays.
He should be back. It looks like sorry to interrupt you. That being said,
yeah, why don't you just put an asterisk? But I'd take it either way. Honestly, it wouldn't matter. But if you want to asterisk it, Chase Garber.
I don't. My only worry with USC is I don't necessarily like QB waffling. I think you should either go with Keaton Slovis or Jackson Dart, let them get some rhythm. I'm never a fan of. I'm a fan of in certain situations how Michigan uses JJ to a little change of pace. That's okay, but just rotating
do the same thing, yeah,
is just not it. It never works. I don't think anybody I can't think of a time where that's been successful. Where it's like, okay, we're just gonna like play one guy the first quarter, so one guy the second quarter, like one guy 2 drives, and the next guy 2 drives. It never works. It doesn't let the quarterback see the field. Doesn't let the quarterback settle in. And obviously, like it never's helping, like knowing a quarterback's breathing down your neck on the depth chart. So they got to
I
figure
don't
that
like
out.
it, but that team they just need to figure out something on offense because it doesn't seem like either quarterback is giving them much. But I think they're good enough on defense to cover that, which is basically just
And
winning the
just,
game.
and it is more talented. Like at a certain point, that's what you got to go with.
And the problem, I mean, Keontae Ingram, like maybe against a weaker front, guys who he's better than, he can pop a little bit. I know he hasn't really been
They
able
just
to
can't
take
run a
off,
ball
but
because they can't block. They just like they need to
well,
get
they
back
can't do
to like
that.
getting the best offensive lineman in California because they're all going to.
Yeah, I know the announcer said that. I remember.
And I agree. Like they just weren't
they
getting
need to recruit that position. Yeah,
on 3rd and 1 against Arizona State. You got to be mashing them down and getting the first down.
they missed like 3 or 4 of them bad. So
Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna go to the SEC. I'm gonna take A&M laying 2 points with them on the road.
Yep. Why don't you put that in the battlegrounds?
Okay, yeah.
I got Ole Miss money line.
Okay, I'll add Ole Miss money line to your picks because that's a little bit juicy, right? What do you got? Plus, what do you got on that?
Yeah, a little bit. You can just put the spread because it's pretty much it. It's like probably 105 or something.
So we're gonna go.
But this is a very much battleground.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think? What do you see? What do you see in this?
What do I see? I see a Texas A&M offense that couldn't move the ball an inch, and their wide receivers dropped far too many balls. And Isaiah Spiller is kind of all they had. He's the only one they could count on. Also, I can't imagine Calzada is going to be particularly healthy. I couldn't believe he was playing that game in the 3rd and 4th
After
quarter.
his shoulder legitimately went limp. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like stunning. So I think you're going to have a hampered Calzada who's not like been lighting it up anyway. And again, you're going to have to score. Ole Miss can score on. I think Ole Miss is going to score on anybody, maybe with the exception of Georgia. So
I don't see that. The way Ole Miss's offense has been running lately, like I don't see them being able to just hang it on anybody. It's just they're too banged up. Top 2 receivers aren't healthy. Matt Corral himself's banged up. Starting tight ends banged up. They haven't been the same offense that we saw earlier in the season against, quite frankly, were some just bad.
But they had a light game. They had a light game against Liberty. That's not exactly a physical grinder of a game. So as these guys get healthy,
they only put up 27 on them. It's not gonna be enough against Texas A&M. Well, it might be. It might be.
Yeah, you think A&M's going to score like 30 plus
you
points?
Think Ole
no
Miss's
shot.
defense is like sick or something? Auburn put up 31 on them. Auburn scored 3 against Texas A&M.
A&M's got a really good defense, but like they were moving the ball pathetically bad, and I don't think Auburn's got a great defense. It's okay, but like LSU moved it pretty good on them. So
Ole Miss scored. Let me pull up the schedule real quick. Ole Miss scored 43 against Louisville and hung it on them. And I thought they would have scored like 60 in that game.
That felt like it was.
Yeah, that's like lower than I thought. Then they obviously hung it on Austin Peay. Scored 61 against Tulane, which is like 130th in defense. And then only scored 21 against a Bama team that's not good. Granted, they came up short on a couple 4th downs. They scored 52 on Arkansas, which was like impressive, even though Arkansas is kind of a pretender. Only scored 31 on Tennessee. That was the same defense Kentucky just scored 45 on. Only scored 31 against LSU and only scored 20 against Auburn. And Auburn's defense is solid, but it's no Texas A&M. This Texas A&M defense is really elite. I think Texas A&M runs the ball very well. Isaiah Spiller behind Kenyon Green and company is going to be very effective. If you can get it to Anaya Smith and get it to some guys and hit some big plays, I think 28 points is going to be plenty for A&M to win this game against Ole Miss, and I think they can certainly do it.
Yeah, I think I gotta think Ole Miss is probably getting a little healthier. Where their peak injuries were probably after the Tennessee game.
Yeah, I think it was going into the Tennessee game. That's when we really saw it.
Yeah, so against Auburn, they were really beat up, I would think. Auburn, LSU were probably beat up games.
Matt Crow's got to be nervous about turning the ball over against A&M because they get you to turn it over. I like that too. The only thing I'm worried about is Ole Miss's crowd. I mean, they're gonna be getting into it. It'll be a sellout.
This is a huge game for both because they're both kind of out of contention.
This is a fun game. I'm happy you battleground me because I look forward to this game. This game's gonna be blast. It's gonna be very, very fun.
Yeah, it is.
One of the best defenses in the country versus one of the most explosive offense in the country. It's gonna be one of the better games we've seen all year.
I'm kind of putting some stock in. I think Ole Miss kind of took their foot off the pedal, honestly, on Liberty, because I'm pretty sure they had 27 rather early in that game, from what I remember.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah, they were up there.
So I don't think, yeah, because I was gonna text you something like, oh, you couldn't see that, could you? But I laid off it. But then they didn't really score much.
Did you want to lay 9? I didn't. I forget you wanted to lay 9 with Ole Miss.
Yeah, I did. that seemed like we can't let Hugh Freeze come in here and beat us or even be competitive. So it's like
I'm pumped. Let's go. I get started with a 1-0 on the battleground picks. Let's go.
You don't want to battleground me because you always end up dead. Well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I think Ole Miss is going to be back, get back into a groove, and
okay. I'm souring on this USC pick. Okay.
Yeah, it's in though.
I might have to take that one out before kickoff.
You're thinking too much about the game on Saturday. You're thinking too much about the offense. The offense was bad, of course, but what you're not appreciating is they held my next pick.
Yeah.
My next pick is Arkansas Moneyline -115. I'm pretty sure that's about a pick 'em. So you're gonna tell me LSU that was their season. I'm quite confident. All they had was to beat Bama because this season's been so god awful. Ogeron is definitely quit. He's just chilling.
He's just chilling, man. I don't blame him.
Granted, I think he's been just chilling since they won the national title. That's why he's getting fired.
He's been chilling for 2 years.
But LSU's not a team that can they just felt like they were close. Okay, we beat Bama. This season's maybe not a total joke. They get off to a good start and then kind of fall apart. Their offense is so bad.
That game's in Death Valley, correct?
It's got to be. That's got to be why it's kind of close.
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking too.
I'm not wildly concerned. I know Death Valley is going to be rocking, but they're just so bad. And Arkansas is really been solid. They've not only had one really bad loss, and that was to Georgia, who's bad loss to everybody. But I think they're playing good. That was a good win against a Mississippi State team that's way better than LSU. And I think that they run the ball well enough, and we've seen LSU really struggle to contain running backs. So give me Arkansas, cover that spread. Or I think I took money line at -115, but that's probably what I'd be most comfortable with.
To be honest with you, I think Arkansas is a solid team who just picked up a good win against Mississippi State.
Arkansas's good. They're not flashy, but they're good.
I just worry about – that's exactly right. They got a big, strong running back or a quarterback who can run the football behind a very good, well-coached offensive line with Sam Pittman. The thing I worry about is just LSU just shows up. You never – but you never know when. You never know when. They go beat Mississippi.
But they just did. They just did their show up.
And when you said that, I completely agree. This game was their Super Bowl. Going on the road to Alabama was their Super Bowl. That's what they were looking for. I think that's what.
And they had a taste of it. They probably thought they were going to win. And then obviously.
One thing that's been positive is this kid right here, Tyron Davis-Price, is starting to run the ball really, really well. They couldn't run the ball worth shit for the first 5 games. And now he's been averaging 100-something yards a game. They're starting to find their juice up front. Obviously, Keishawn Boutte hurts really bad. But they still got some solid guys on defense. Damone Clark and Mike Jones I really like. I just don't want to bet against LSU.
Oh, I'm very comfortable taking against
Give
LSU.
me. I might add this to a Rock Boys lock. To be honest with you, I'm very close to it. Because LSU on Wednesday didn't have enough healthy bodies to practice. Think about that. A program of that size, they had to cancel practice because they didn't have healthy bodies.
Yeah, it's nuts.
They just have nobody to play with, and Arkansas is going to grind you down.
I just think our LSU is the ultimate team that when they get disappointment, they have a lot of trouble stemming that. So I just have the feel. It's like a feel game. I think Arkansas is kind of flying under the radar, but they can move the ball. Traylon Burks is incredibly good. I think maybe start talking about him in the upper echelon of wideouts. But
yeah, I'm excited to get into him.
I haven't really watched a good Arkansas game like live. I've watched them back on like tape and stuff, but I haven't really gotten a chance to watch. The only time they did was when they played Texas A&M, but Michigan was on at the same time and in a heater with Rutgers, unfortunately. It's like stuck.
I'm gonna send us over to the ACC. Miami going into Tallahassee playing the Florida State Seminoles -2.5. I love it here inside of a field goal. I'll tell you, they get this itch. I really like how this Miami team has been playing lately. We bet against them. We bet NC State on the road against Miami, and they burned us. That should have cashed. But after this Virginia game where they doinked it off the crossbar, they barely lose one to UNC. And then what happens after this game is like all the old guys pretty much quit, and they go with the young bucks. One of those young bucks is Jalen Knighton at the running back position, who literally can score a touchdown anytime he kept touching the ball. A little bit less physical than that senior Cameron Harris, but he's absolutely electric. And this team is starting to put up a lot of points. 31 points against one of the best defenses in the ACC against NC State. Then they go on the road and shock the Pitt Panthers coming off a huge win against Clemson. This Tyler Van Dyke cat is the real deal. He's very accurate. He's able to get the ball into his playmakers' hands. Charleston Rambo, you know how I feel about him. I know this kid's kind of good in space. But like I love how they're playing football lately. They're hanging a lot of points on a lot of people, and they're going to hang a lot of points on Florida State. They just need to block the front four. Florida State has been extremely impressive rushing the passer. They were extremely impressive against NC State. That being said, I think this Miami team is just too fast. It is just gonna get the ball in space too well against them. And so I'm laying -2.5 with Miami. Jordan Travis probably will be back for Florida State, which makes me a little bit nervous because I'd much prefer Mackenzie Milton to play. But Jordan Travis has his own flaws, and I think it's only a matter of time until this Florida State team quits, which is the opposite to what the Hurricanes are doing for Manny Diaz. They're going to war for him, and I think I like what he's doing. Manny says, all right, these old guys, they're out the door. Okay, smell you. Go transfer, go declare for the draft. We're going to freaking battle. And they're battling. So give me Miami inside a field goal all day.
Yeah, I didn't have that pick. That was a very convincing argument.
I'm pretty passionate about this.
I can tell you like where I know you're a Miami guy,
and they're playing hard. Like I watched the whole NC State game, and this Tyler Van Dyke kid's just making the plays to win. And then obviously I watched back the highlights against Pitt, and I mean this offense is explosive. Tyler Van Dyke's getting the ball to his playmakers. This Florida State team is kind of going the opposite way, kind of into a tailspin. So,
I mean, Florida State's been tailspinning since the beginning, really. I'm kind of like they've just played really bad football, and I think I get that this isn't like a huge national rivalry, but I do think it is a big local rivalry, and this is
100%. It used to be a national rivalry.
no doubt. Well, yeah, when they were both like good in the
Yeah.
80s, 90s, obviously, but I gotta say, Matt, like the Van Dijk's been wildly impressive. It seems like I don't know why, and it's nothing against De'Ara King, but ever since he's come in, they've been a sort of a different team, honestly. And I don't know if that's kind of getting away from like a little bit of and again, just bringing the young guys through and kind of.
De'Ara King, not to interrupt you, but De'Ara King just didn't seem right from the get-go. I think he came back, really wanted to come back for this season that seemed like a very talented Miami team. I had them to win the division in the ACC, and it just didn't work out. Injuries, other things, and unfortunately,
I mean, that Bama was a grinder of a game because they couldn't protect him, and he was getting lit up, and then they just get stomped.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm kind of with you. Never really seemed to find his groove, and I don't think it was totally his fault. I think they started the season way too difficult. I mean, packing it with Bama and Michigan State, like right kind of on top of each other is like a gutsy move, but I don't know that it was the move for this Miami team, honestly. So it's like
too much to lose. Like, give your guys some confidence, some time.
You can play one of those games, but God, you don't want to start like that slow. You don't want to start two losses like right off the rip.
What other?
Especially when you have high expectations. One other pick I got is I like BC to beat Georgia Tech. It's plus 105 on the money line, and essentially kind of what I think.
Put that into the battleground. You got BC?
What?
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, of course. Jesus.
Yeah.
Just when I look at these Georgia Tech results, they seems like they're struggling to deal. I mean, their defense isn't very good, period. Like they seem like they can score the ball a little bit, but they're giving up a lot of points. I was impressed with Boston College. I think they're getting back to what they do, and that was being a heavy physical run team that kind of can grind you down. And when I look at what Georgia Tech did against Duke, that makes me a little concerned that they are not a team that wants to deal with a physical back and a team that's going to run it and commit themselves to that.
Yeah, the reason I'm going with Georgia Tech is, yes, BC ran the ball pretty well. Obviously, this cat, Pat Garwell, had 30 carries, but, I mean, wasn't extremely efficient, 4 yards a carry against a Vatech team that was literally on the field the whole game. And they only scored 17 points. What I'm going with is, like, Phil Yurkovich just wasn't that good.
But it's first game back, like, knocked the rust off.
Like he's still hurt. He can't throw.
Definitely looks like his hand maybe is not strong yet, but
yeah, these balls are fluttering around. I just was not impressed with this.
I'm not totally convinced they need to throw it that much, though. When you give up 26 to Duke, that like makes you really do struggle to stop the run. So I think Georgia Tech. I mean, not a good team. I don't think they've had the year they would have wanted. I thought they were going to be a little better.
He gave the ball to Mateo Durant 43 times. What? He's legitimately the only good player on Duke. I love him.
They just grinded okay. They don't. I mean, you give up 27 to Duke, like that's very obvious. They don't want to deal with a back. A physical one at that. Garwell did look like a big power back to me throughout that Virginia Tech game. That not easy to tackle and not an explosive back, but I think he does set up the Phil Jurkovich run, which was very effective.
He was very effective running.
So I think if you can use Phil to run and maybe he can get a little better passing, just getting the game under his belt and coming back, but I was impressed. I thought BC looked very good. I liked the corners. I thought they had a lot of attitude, a lot of spunk, which I was a fan of. Just always chirping, and I think that's a good way to be as a corner. Yeah,
Virginia Tech quarterback who can at the broadside of the barn.
Well, but
that was pathetic. I turned the game off. I was so mad.
I grinded it out, but I was pissed. But
I couldn't. I'll tell you why I'm going with this Georgia Tech team. I think they run the ball very, very well. Jefferson, I haven't watched that much of Georgia Tech. It was a team that I was very high on coming in. I love this Jahmyr Gibbs kid. He's a second year. He's a true freshman last year, All-American, I believe. Extremely electric. He puts some weight on and can be like kind of a running back you can lean on. His running mate's Jordan Mason, who's much more of a bigger guy. But Jahmyr Gibbs is so electric. Combine him with a very good athlete in Jeff Sims in the backfield. This Georgia Tech team plays pretty hard for Jeff Collins.
I do like Jeff Collins. I think
this is more of a BC fade than it is a Georgia Tech play. I mean, you're getting Georgia Tech at pick them at home, playing for the. I was gonna say playing for some bowl games, but they're just not gonna make a bowl game playing Notre Dame and Georgia next to close out the season.
You're gonna get housed by those two.
I mean, this Georgia Tech team's been competitive in a lot of their games, beating UNC, almost beating Clemson. 8 points within a very, very good Virginia team. I'm guessing they ran all over Virginia. Yep, sure did.
To me, I think BC, I think Jurkovec, being able to introduce him into that run game and kind of re-get themselves into that mindset, like it seems like they kind of lost it and were throwing the ball a little bit.
But it also helps when you have more of a threat to throw. Like, that's going to open up the run game. You're just not stacking the box. Like when they were playing Missouri, like they didn't throw it like once.
I mean, if Phil Jurkovec looks anything like he did last year, I mean, he only played scrub teams this year, but I have no doubt he's got a lot of talent. He was really good. I was very impressed with his run and how difficult he was to tackle. So I just have a feeling you get your quarterback back, you get a good dominant win against a decent Virginia Tech who handled Georgia Tech fine. I think I like Hafley as a coach, frankly. I think he has done a pretty good job there. So I don't, this is like just a feel game to me. I think I haven't watched a ton of Georgia Tech, haven't watched a ton of BC, but I like BC getting back into the ground and pound and do what Mateo Durant was able to do.
More of a fade BC game. I think they're too heavily weighted. And this BC team isn't that good.
It could be catching them at their peak. That's something that concerns me a little bit.
I think Vegas is valuing, as I throw my pen halfway across the room, I think Vegas is valuing too much of Phil Jurkovec. He was just not impressive enough for me to bet because of him. He didn't look healthy, and that might change in the next week. But these balls were fluttering, could have easily been a couple picks. Or a couple picks that were fumbled. So that's kind of where I'm going with. And then I have one more pick for you. I'm going ND -4.5. I have
that in the agreement.
Games. Is that an agreement?
Yep. That was my last pick too. So perfect.
Yeah. I guess I'll give you the floor first. It's 4.5. I think I have that number right, correct? Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, no, you definitely did. I think ND is honestly, they've played really good football all year. I think people are discounting what they've done because, they lost to Cincinnati.
It was a good team, in fairness to them.
Really good team.
Solid football team.
And I think that's them figuring out what to do at the quarterback spot, which was frankly a massive issue for what they were trying to do all year. But I think Virginia's that's a beat up football team. They've just seemed like, and to me the big thing with Virginia is their primary reliance is on their quarterback being a better athlete than the other guys on the field, and that's how they've kind of manufactured points, is him scrambling around and making plays on the run. This will be by far the most athletic defense I think Virginia's played. Notre Dame's played generally pretty good defense, and they're scoring now. I don't recall Virginia being very good against the run, especially against Wake Forest.
I'll tell you. Okay, here. I'll get into why I got them. Right here, this stat line.
Yeah.
They're horrible against the run. They're not just we're not great. They're bad. I know 40 at Duke laid up to 0. I wouldn't be surprised if Mateo Durant had a good game against them. I mean, yeah, 82 yards, 5 yards of carry. Like that's solid against the team. I would Louisville ran.
And I mean, I will say, like,
Look at they stink defending the run, and this is parlayed. Sorry, I actually really like this pick. This is parlayed into a Notre Dame team that is finding its way on the ground. I've been calling for this Kyron Williams to get going. He's finally getting going. He had, I think, just under 100 yards last week. He had 17 carries for 95 yards. He's getting going against Navy, which is Navy does a decent amount on defense. And then UNC, I'm pretty sure he had a day.
200, 199 and a touchdown on 22 carries. So
he's just getting it going. Jack Cohn is starting to get into it. And I'll tell you one other thing why I like it. Kevin Austin had a little breakout game against Navy. This Notre Dame team is
he might not be playing, unfortunately. I will say. I think he might have gotten hurt. You might have to check that, but
we'll keep it.
I do think he didn't play on the tail end, and
our followers
I'm not getting
some Twitter accounts to follow for injuries. We need that.
That would be super helpful. College is way hard to follow injuries, but
Shefty. We need a college football Shefty.
Kyren Williams, I'd also just add he had 138 against a good USC defense. So, if they can
go 3 games,
if they can get active, I think it's really helpful to get Cohn back healthy and Michael Myers getting healthy. That's huge. He's obviously a workhorse when he's healthy. So, yeah, I'm
this
very
Virginia
much
team,
on this pick.
I think they'll do a decent amount scoring. I like Brendan Armstrong. I like this offense. They have some serious weapons. They hung 50 on BYU, but they gave up 66. I like this Dontavian Wicks kid. I like this Keaton Thompson kid. He's that quarterback, do-it-all guy. Jelani Woods is that big tight end, and Billy Cap kind of like that
big guys.
Like these guys, it's a good receiving core if you look at it. 2 solid big tight end targets, and then a kind of a deep threat with Wicks and kind of the underneath threat with Billy Kemp. They don't run the ball particularly well unless it's with Brennan Armstrong. They don't really commit to it that much. They're an air raid team. I don't think they're going to be able to sit back and just throw the ball against ND. This is actually turning in as I'm talking myself into just like this might be my favorite pick of the week. Notre Dame gets after the passer at a really high level. How many times did they sack Sam Howell was probably a decent amount if I had to guess. I like this pick. I think it sets up – I think it's a great matchup for Notre Dame. It's going to let them do what they like to do, which is run the ball and control the time of possession. So give me Notre Dame with 4.5 points. They beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Yep, I'm with that. I think that'll be I'm glad we agreed on that.
We got a decent amount. The Rockwoos are agreeing a little bit. I'm nervous about this Georgia Tech. I love Texas A&M. I think this is an absolute lock. I love that you're going with
that's crazy, but
so you're only going with the dogs today, Minnesota and Syracuse, and then you like Notre Dame minus 4.5 too. Good. I like it. What do you think about the NC State Wake game before we end the show?
It's a death trap of nothing. I don't know where you go.
Okay, good. I'll stop the share. We'll save this document and might add it. We'll tweet it out on Twitter as you guys can see it on Twitter.
I think for nothing, I may be tripping on Kevin Austin. He definitely may not have gotten injured.
Yeah, we'll have to keep that known.
I just looked at a recap.
Okay, to close out, we're going to try to do a mock draft this weekend of a team of choice. And then we're also going to try to give you guys at least a 20-minute spiel on our college football playoff takes. I was getting active last Twitter. I think people are overreacting in a big way. I'm very anti-Cincinnati, so we'll see how the fans take that. But yeah, we're going to try to give you guys our takes on the college football playoffs once it releases Tuesday night. So we'll do a little show Tuesday night for you guys, try to get it out either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys later this week. Appreciate you guys hanging with us, and let's start tracking some picks, making some money. Peace.
Oh, yeah.